Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Darkstone Dossiers with your host, Anthony Darkstone.
Greetings and welcome, and thank you everybody for being here, and a very warm good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, depending on where you are located in the world. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because we do have people from different parts of the planet that do come and join us on the Darkstone Dossiers, which is an SAM International Assembly production. For those of you who don't know, we do have an international assembly. It has members from different countries all over the world, and the message is you don't have to be an American citizen to join the Society of American Magicians. So if you happen to be one of these people that is not a member of the SAM and would like to join the SAM, please get in touch with me wherever you are located in the US, anywhere else in the world, and I would be delighted to talk to you. I also have a great deal of pleasure, before introducing my guest today, to have most illustrious, the president of the Society of American Magicians. I will ask him to come on briefly and say a very quick hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody. Glad to be here. Thanks.
We have a showcase at the end or somewhere during the show. Most illustrious will put it up, the link to the showcase where all the previous shows are, etc. I know everybody says it gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce whoever, and then they name the guest. You know what? This time it's true. It really does. Because I've known my guest for, getting on for almost 20 years. Little backstory. I was very fortunate. Paul Critelli, who was the contest chairman for many years for the SAM convention, invited me, Scott Wells, Bruce Trigg, and John Rockbomber to judge the close-up contest. This time, it was in New Orleans. And there was this young fellow from Canada. The short story is that Shawn got joint first place with Joe Cole from Nebraska. Since then, we've been friends and we've hung out. He was a guest on my talk show in England for the British Ring of the IBM, along with Joe Turner, Michael Finney, and Jason Andrews. After that, all three of them, with the exception of Jason Andrews, went on to become president of the IBM. Having spoken about the IBM, I want to tell you a little bit about this gentleman that we're going to meet and talk to tonight. He has a doctorate from the 4F. He's an MIMC with a gold star. He's been an SAM member, since Noah built the Ark. He is the current dean and founder of SAM Assembly 95 over in Canada. And I'm delighted to tell you that there are quite a few lovely Canadians that are part of the International Assembly. Why am I plugging the International Assembly? Very simple. We want more people to come in and join us. What are the criteria? Very simple. You have to be a member of the SAM. If you're not, it's fairly easy to join. Myself and Joel will sponsor you. After that, there's nothing else. There are no dues to pay, nothing. And you get to hang out with some really world-class people. Now, I've told you a little bit about this gentleman, and I'm going to quote from a script of his to introduce him. Come on, Thism boy, show us what you got. Ladies and gentlemen, Shawn Farquhar.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me, Anthony.
That's all right. Yeah, it's really good for you to be here, Shawn. I'll tell you what, I kind of reminisced a little bit, but let's just go back briefly for a few seconds to those halcyon days at New Orleans when you won joint first place.
Yeah.
I'll explain briefly why, and then you can do the details. The reason it was joint first place was because it didn't happen in the room that John Rockbomber and I were in judging. There was a little bit of a hiatus, and they said that you had gone over time, but that was actually somebody trying to mess with your act. But in the end, Paul Critelli and common sense and everything else prevailed, and we did award you joint first place. So talk to us a little bit about that, your times getting there and how much fun that was.
That was a pretty amazing time. I learned a lot about the magic community during that convention. I'd gone to the SAM convention in New Orleans to compete. My friend Richard Forget was on stage. I was in close-up. We both wore purple suits. We were winning everything at all the international competitions. We certainly wanted to be at the SAM. We got there. As you know, there were 4 rooms. In one of the rooms was Bruce Trigg, Canadian.
Right.
And when it was my turn, the first 2 rooms, the one I was in with you and John Rockenbomber, standing ovations, place was going crazy. I was just rocking it, having a really good time. And when I got to this room, on the way up, it was from one floor to another. I got an elevator with 3 good old boys who basically looked at me in my purple suit and said, in a very derogatory term, said, so what are you, an Oscar Munoz wannabe? And I guess they didn't know Oscar and I were good friends. And they thought maybe I was somehow taking Oscar's signature suit. And I thought it was funny, and I didn't think much of it. But they sat in the front row of the show. And when I asked for a volunteer, I asked one of them. And the guy basically took a minute to say no. So I asked the person next to him, and he said no. And then the next person took even longer, and I couldn't get a volunteer. By the time I got a volunteer, it was like a minute and a half had gone by, and it really cut into my time. And so I ran over. And you get to meet the judges. One of the best things about the SAM contest is you get to meet the judges in a criteria meeting. You get to talk to them. They give you feedback and everything. That's probably one of the best things I've ever had in any competition. When I went in, they informed me that I had the highest score, but that I was disqualified because I ran over in one room. And did I have anything to say? And my answer was, I made a professional choice, and that was to have a volunteer. I said, I made a professional choice, and it didn't work out for me. And I'd hope that maybe the judge would say something about, there being hecklers, because no one expects hecklers at a magic convention. But Bruce, sweetheart that he is, didn't want to say anything. Being Canadian, he was like, well, Shawn doesn't want to discuss it. I guess I don't discuss it. So we didn't. I wasn't going to win. I spent the next 3 days being informed by the judges not to say anything about the fact I wasn't going to win. And the amount of magicians that came up and say, hey, you rocked it. This is going to be the best thing ever. You're sure in to win. And I knew all the time, very sad that I wasn't. On the day of the competition, I guess the competitors got together and approached Paul Critelli, and Paul is the convention contest chairman with his assistant,
Right.
Peggy. They got in touch with all the contestants and had a meeting without me, where all the contestants said they weren't going to accept the award, which is pretty amazing. And Paul had to have vote. He said everybody gets to make an X. If one person doesn't make an X, then Shawn doesn't win, and we go with what was decided. If everybody does this, then somebody else is going to lose, because somebody else could win at this moment. So there was a potential winner who actually voted to have me win instead of them. The award was high enough to be the Silver Award of Merit, which is like, first and above. What was really cool was that in the end, everybody voted to let me be in the competition and to win. And then they agreed that Joe Cole, who was a brilliant magician in the show also, could tie. And so we both tied and got Silver Awards of Merit and split the $1,500 in cash. I told Joel I didn't need any of the money. I just really wanted to be there. And Joe was really cool about it. He goes, that's cool. I said, we both ended up with these beautiful SAM medals. I've honored the convention and thought it was great. I got the Zachary Award of Originality. I don't know how many times that's ever been given, but a beautiful award that was made specifically for it. And then in the MUM magazine afterwards, I put a full page ad out just to thank the competitors, because I thought that really showed real camaraderie among compeers too. It wasn't about the contest. It was about who did the best that day. And it wasn't about, what the basic rules were. It was about basic humanity. And I think that was a really cool lesson to learn.
That's an accurate story, but the interesting part that you left out, which I will now fill in, is what a class act. Firstly, to take out a full ad in MUM thanking people.
That just had to do that. I wanted to publish.
Yeah, I know.
Would never have ever heard about it.
Yeah, I know, but I just want to make it well, it is public, but I just want people to know.
Yeah, I didn't even mention that. I mean, I just said, I want to thank these wonderful magicians personally. I know all but one of them super well to this very day. The one fellow I just haven't been able to find him. He sort of disappeared. He popped up, did a couple contests, and then was gone. But the rest of them, I still count as friends, which is really great.
It is great because, the judges, as you've mentioned, it was Bruce Trigg, myself, Scott Wells, and John Rockenbomber. And, of course, Paul came and spoke with us, and we sat down, etc. And without going into a long story about it, we all kind of went, you know what? Let's just do the decent, fair thing. The guy went over time. It's not his fault. He did. You got a standing O in the room where John Rockenbomber and myself were judging you. I have never seen that in my life before, and I've never seen it since. In a few times I've judged at different places with the IBM or SAM, etc. I've never seen that. I've never seen that happen. So John and I just looked at each other and looked at our notes and kind of went, yeah, right, that's it. He's an 11 out of 10 on everything. But I wanted to talk a little bit about that story because it tells us a little bit about who Shawn is. The fact that he said, look, I'll just be happy with the recognition. I don't want the money. Talk about your times at 4F, Obie's Whistle, and, the great, you have a doctorate there, I know, and you wear your 4F pin with pride, I know, at a lot of places. Share a little bit about those fun times at 4F.
4F is just the most amazing thing. I never ever dreamed I would go. It's the most exclusive magic gathering in the world by invitation only. I competed at the IBM competition, and they have an award called the Obie Award, and it's an invitation to attend one time. And I won it. It was a People's Choice thing, and so excited. I attended, and they put me on the final night show following Rocco. Like, that's the last place in the world you want to be. And I walked out, and there was, Herb Zero, Alex Elmsley, Max Maven, Bill Malone, Paul Gertner. This was the front row. And I looked out, and the first thing I said to myself, who else was there? Oh, there was just Patrick, so many people. I just looked out, and the first thing I said was, wow, I thought most of you were dead. I thought it was a good start to set the tone. And then I said, if a bomb dropped on this building, a lot of really bad magicians would have a lot of work. Really quite an exceptional place. And I've been going ever since. I missed one since I was invited. And the one I missed was because the cruise ship I was working on, I tried to get off by crawling down the side of the ship onto a pilot boat near Panama. But the waves were too high. They were 30-foot swales. And no matter how many times I tried to make the attempt, they even laid a mattress out and asked me if I could jump to it. And I decided that I love the 4F, but not that much. You could end up in the ocean and be gone. So I did miss one. And then a few years ago, I was actually a guest of honor for the 4F. It's an exceptional thing. The first year I went, I did the magic that I'm known for. And the second year I did, other A material. The third year I was in the show again, I did more A material. And then I ran out of A material. So I started doing some of my B material. And by the 7th or 8th year, I'd run out of material, even works in progress. And so for the last few years, my challenge has been, I take $20 and I go to Target, which is in this parking lot next to the hotel, and I buy $20 worth of crap and I build a magic act. And Obie always puts me on the final evening show, which gives me a few days to work on it. And I build this thing up, and then I go out and do it. And some of them have actually ended up being awesome gems. A perfect example is my Sherlock comedy book test that I used on Penn and Teller's Fool Us. I created that in a day, the year David Stone was guest of honor, and I did it on David Stone. And the place was laughing and having fun, and I left the stage afterwards going, that's a trick that's going in my show. And within a year, it was like, that's a trick I can sell. And within a year after that, I was like, I can fool Penn and Teller with that. Let's do that. So it's a great place for me to be creative. I'm surrounded by super creative people. I look in this gallery, and there's lots of 4F members here, which is very cool. They call them the Knights Templar of Magic. It's like this. There was a magazine article from a magazine called Harper's, and the person said that maybe the world competition wasn't as fair as it should be. It might be fixed, because they noticed a lot of the winners of the competition all wore the same lapel pin, which had these 4 little playing cards with F's. I was like, maybe it's the other way around. That's just an indication that they stand a pretty good chance. Yeah, I'm very proud when I see people from the 4F, and yeah, it's just a great organization. I was blessed to be allowed to go once. I've been going ever since. I can't imagine a better place to experience magic, sleight of hand, and to share ideas. It's my little safety zone.
Well, I kind of pulling your leg, and I put that in a few posts. The reason I said, come on, Fizzum Boys, show us what you got, is because I and a ton of people fell on the floor laughing, because when we were at the IBM in England, at the British Ring, and we did the talk show we spoke about earlier, I think there's a still somewhere that I sent Joel. Do we have that somewhere, Joel, the still? Yeah, there it is. Yeah, okay. Jason Andrews, there's Michael Finney, of course, yours truly in the middle, and then Shawn and Joe Turner, who's right here now. There's
younger.
And then Shawn went on to, there was a close-up gala, and I had never seen him do this before. I don't do cups and balls, but I love it. I love watching it. Shawn does this cups and balls, and we're all watching him and going, yeah, really good technique. And then he does his killer ending. I've been in this business a little while, and there are many more notables, much higher status than me, and all of us collectively went, oh. And I'm going to tell you the ending. You'll have to watch it sometime, or if you speak to him very, very, very nicely, he may sometime in the future actually release it. But
I plan to release it. I've been trying to release it for the last 7 years. At an SAM in Vegas, I met a fellow who's a machinist who said he could make them, and he's been a little busy lately, so he hasn't been able to. Another friend, Elliot Hunter, has helped out with the help of Bill Cook and a few other magicians in the community, and they're in the final stages of the prototypes. So maybe by Christmas, I'll actually have my cups and balls out, which I've been waiting to do for, 20 years. Yeah. I love the routine. It just looks like a very Vernon-esque routine. And I had that funny line in the middle of it going, this is all well-to-do, but come on, Fism Boy, show us something better than that.
It cracked everybody up. I mean, it just did. And I just had to use it in the post and in the show. And a couple of people came and said, wasn't that a little bit rude, Anthony, saying that? And I said, no, it isn't. Come watch the show. You'll understand. It's from his script. It's not me.
Yeah. I think they just have this expectation that you can fly around the room and, blow fire out of your nose or something. And I think it's got to be the hardest thing is being introduced now. Once I won the world championship, and, they go, please welcome to the stage, 2-time world champion Shawn Farquhar. They go, oh, is he going to fly across the stage? And you're like, yeah, it's great to sell the show. Absolutely great. For promotion to say 2-time world champion, it's like saying Academy Award winner. But at the same time, they expect a different level from you. And so you're always, having to up your game as opposed to here's our magician. Then it just kind of sits there. So, yeah.
Well, I want to talk to you a little bit about that because, we've reminisced, we talked about a little bit of stuff, and I think it's kind of important for all our compares and friends from around the world. What's going through your mind when you walk into that room and that expectation of, cut your head off, kick it around the floor, then put it back on, or fly, or burst into flames, and then because there is that expectation. It in some ways it's great, and in other ways, I imagine, I don't know, I've never experienced it, but I would imagine it's also a tremendous pressure.
Yeah, I got used to it about 7 years ago. So I won in 2009, and so the first few years, lots of pressure. But about 7 years ago, I started working for Disney, and I work in the Walt Disney Theater. And the Walt Disney Theaters, of course, are famous for their original productions. And I'm working on the finest ships in the world, on Broadway-sized stages with Broadway production values. And the night before I come out, they get to see Frozen, the whole show. And full puppeteering, and Anna actually freezes using lighting techniques and $1 million sets. And then the next night is Shawn just standing in the center of the stage. And their expectation level goes from, we just saw Disney to Shawn. And I've learned to let people down. So I'm okay with that now. It's like,
no, I can't possibly imagine you letting anybody down. But yeah,
their expectation is at one level. And then once they see it, they go, hey, my favorite compliment of all on Disney is the amount of people that come up afterwards go and say, that hour just disappeared. And I'm like, yeah. And then I feel good. Like they went in there going, oh, where's all the big sets? Why is there just a guy standing there in a bow tie staring at us? And by the end of the show, they jump to their feet, they're screaming, they're cheering, and people don't think about it. And I'm like, yeah, I agree. I think the Disney, seeing Beauty and the Beast is unbelievable. And to see a cast of, 30 people singing and dancing is phenomenal. But I think you can be just as entertained by one goofy guy in a bow tie if you connect with the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you've done Disney, you've done the cruises, you've done all, and then there's a million stories. I know you're kind of in the last few years, I suppose, become famous, or is the correct word infamous? Choose the word you wish, Shawn, for jumping on and off planes and getting stuck in airports and going from one end of the planet literally to another end. And people asking you things like, do you ever sleep? Do you ever eat? What on earth drives you to do that? I mean, I know you're a high energy guy. You're like the SAM, passion and energy. I know that. But what drives that? What drives that?
A passion for magic. I love magic. I eat, sleep, and drink magic. To quote past international president for the Society of American Magicians, Ice McDonald, if you cut me, I'd bleed magic. I just love magic. And so I'm driven by this passion to do as much as I can. And to be able to perform, I needed to travel. I was doing 285 days a year on the road. It was insane. I was on more planes in a single year than most people go in a life. I was on planes more than airline pilots. I was talking to a pilot, and he actually said that his union only allowed him so many hours of flight a year due to radiation, ozone, and that sort of stuff. And he said, you're on every flight I do, so you're on too many flights. And I was like, oh. And then I had them up, like, oh yeah, I'm double what the normal pilot does. So that's not good, but that's all changed now. In September last year, I decided I would try something new and built my little dream. And as much as I love traveling, the thing I loved the most was the performing. The traveling was the cost I paid to do it. I lived in hotels. I was away from my family. I spent a lot of time using FaceTime and Skype to keep connected. I wanted to be in front of audiences. I wanted to share my magic. And if that's a small price to pay to share wonder with people.
Speaking of wonder, you've actually started something now called Hidden Wonders.
Yeah.
I think we have a quick slide of that somewhere. If we can ask,
there
there
it
it is. There it is. Yeah, Hidden Wonders, and of course it talks about your experiences on Masters of Illusion, Fool Us, The Ellen Show, etc., Disney Cruises, and so on.
It's funny. The one logo, the CCTV one, nobody recognizes it. On that one alone, I was seen by 37 million people live and over 300 million people within 24 hours. So that one was seen by more people than any of the other one. Yeah, and nobody knows what it is. It's China's national television station.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. I wasn't absolutely sure, but it's kind of the Chinese equivalent of what you might refer to as the BBC is in England. It's like the national state TV thing. Yeah, because now speaking of Chinese and stuff like that, I know you spent a lot of time on boats, and a lot of the crew there were Chinese. And your young daughter, well, she's a young lady now, going off to university, as we know, she actually grew up speaking Chinese.
Well, Tagalog, Philippine is more prominent, but she speaks a little Chinese, and she spoke German, French, and Spanish. Her Spanish is still really good. She practices that all the time. But most of the other ones have pretty much disappeared. When she lived on the ship, people spoke to her in the languages that they were used to. We lived in an international village. I think there were 47 countries represented. And so our daycare workers, people who looked after Hannah when we had to do things, were people from France or Germany or the Philippines. And so they spoke in their native tongue. And so when people said hello to her, she spoke back to them in their language. And we just thought it was the greatest. Sadly, once we came back to Canada and settled into Little Maple Ridge, she lost a lot of that, because if you don't use it, you lose it. But recently she's been studying Spanish again and seems to be doing really great at getting back on track. Well,
that's good, because I know you mentioned she's going off to university quite literally after we finish this.
Right after this interview.
Yeah, you're going to be taking her over to Victoria, where she's going to university. Talk to everybody about Hidden Wonders. It's all very well to say, okay, Hidden Wonders, ta-da, here's the logo, and we're producing shows and people can come and watch them. But I know there was a lot of hard work, most of it done by you, to literally build it from the ground up.
Yeah, it's my passion project. I'm very fortunate to have so many friends in the magic community here in Vancouver. I love them dearly, and they've really come out to support and help me. In September, I decided that maybe I wanted to stay at home some more. And I was on a ship. The Disney Wonder had come into Vancouver. I was walking around downtown, and I found this little tiny screening theater in the Shangri-La Hotel, a very upscale hotel, the tallest building in Vancouver. I went and asked how much to rent it. They said like $1,600 for a night. And I thought, there's only 32 seats. What kind of profit could be off of that? And would anybody come? But I love the idea of performing just for 36 people. And so I rented it for a weekend, did 2 shows a night for the 2 nights, so 4 shows total. They sold out in an hour, all of them. And it was crazy. The support was phenomenal. And it wasn't that I made a lot of money. It was that I had the best time of my life. As the people left, I shook hands with every person and called them by name. And it was just a blast. And then I went back onto the ship and I stood around going, I don't want to be here anymore. Theaters were great. They've been my life for more than 30 years. But I really wanted something different. And so I went looking, and I found a little spot in Chinatown that was leasable. and I turned it into a speakeasy. I built a fake Chinese tailor shop in the front and a 30-seat raked Victorian-style theater in the back, and started doing shows just on Fridays and Saturdays, then a Sunday matinee, then 2 on Friday, 2 on Saturday, and a Sunday matinee, then a Sunday evening, and then a Thursday show, and then a Wednesday show, and they were selling out, every one of them. And tickets were $60 for VIP and $45 for second and third row. There's only 3 rows. You're only 14 feet from my face wherever you sat in the room. And I built a show that was completely interactive, meaning not only did they participate in the show, but they made the show. The entire show was scripted by the audience. They picked the tricks in the order that they'd be done, and no 2 shows are the same. By doing that, it meant people came back repeatedly because they could see the same show and it was a different show. And people would tell people, no, don't pick that one. I've seen it. Please pick something else. It was really fun. So that went for a really long time. And then on March 15th, with COVID, we had to close the doors, and I packed it all up and put it in my garages, and sat around for a while, feeling sorry for myself. And then the person who owned the building contacted me and said that they were no longer going to be, they were subleasing it, turned out. They weren't going to be leasing it. And did I want to contact the owner? I contacted the owner, and they offered me even better lease. I was so excited. And then the city of Vancouver said no, that I needed to upgrade the building, put in sprinkler systems. And then my friend Rod Chow came and said, I have a building just around the corner. And so we began project on that. Unfortunately, the city of Vancouver stepped in again and said no. And so I went back into feeling sorry for myself for a short period of time. And then my wife found a place in New Westminster. It's a small city just outside of Vancouver by about 20 minutes. And it's where I started my career. When Lori and I first decided to do magic full time, we moved to New West because it was the center of the Lower Mainland. Anyways, we found a building that's twice as big as what we had. And for the last month and a half, we've been constructing my dream, a new 30-seat venue, but it has a lounge in it and an entire storefront in the front that's about 500 square feet that'll be filled with weird curio stuff, just crap from my garage. If you've ever watched any of my videos on Facebook where it says, what's in Shawn's garage today? Well, it's all going to be in this store. So people will be walking in and seeing old radios and pant presses and toys from the 60s and the 70s and some old Disney memorabilia and just tons of crap. And then they'll have to find the secret door. To do that, there's a bunch of doorknobs on a tray, and one of the doorknobs will actually stick to the wall, and that will open a door that doesn't exist. And then they'll be inside. When they close the door from the other side, it looks like a bank vault door. And then I've got a nice bar and Edison lights and a big giant bookcase. And from that, they go into the showroom where I'm going to do a 75-minute show for 30 people. But until COVID's over, I have to reduce the number even more. So this is going to be the most intimate shows I've ever done in my life. I'm allowing 12 people per show, just 12 people. And I reduced the ticket to just $50. And people go, well, you can't make a living off that. I said, I don't want to make a living. I just want to keep alive. I just want to perform. I want to do magic, and I want humans to see it. And I want some people to feel a little bit of, life again. And so they'll enter with masks. My friend Graham Kita arranged for one of those big fancy commercial hand sprayers, which is really great. He came with steel pipe for my lighting. So many people have volunteered. I hurt my hand 2 days ago, and all of a sudden everything had to come to a stop. But I can't because I open on August 28th. The doctor says my hand will be fine by then. So I put a message on the magic community, and I've had 8 magicians say they're all coming on Saturday when I return from dropping my daughter off at university to help move the rest of the stuff over. I'm really blessed by the people in the community and how they're helping. And I started advertising tickets. I've already sold out 4 of the 12 shows that are listed, and the other ones are doing really well. And I'm freaked out. I get to do magic again, and I get to do it in the perfect environment where I can see everybody's face, and I get to try new ideas, and I get to live my dream. And it's all hidden like a speakeasy.
That is truly fantastic, because what it's doing, and many of us have been in this business for a long time. Yes, the money is good and all those kind of things, but I'm talking about people who make a living with this like you do, for example, and many others. There is something about performance that's a drug, and particularly for magic, because if you're not getting that energy and feedback from the audience, or even if it's a sitting ovation and a golf clap, it's that the Japanese call it ki and the Chinese people call it chi. There's an interplay of that energy. And I'm glad you brought it up, because you are probably one of 3 people that I know. There may be others that I don't know them. And I would put you at the top of those 3 people. That you have this ability of energizing a room. Have you ever stopped to analyze that, Shawn? Or is it just you? It just happens.
I think a lot of people say that. And it's just, I think people want positivity in their life. I look to, there are people in my world that I see, like Ice McDonald. He's always positive, always moving forward, always sees the bright side. When you have those people in your world, it makes you see positive. I got a buddy, Howard Hamburg. He's probably one of the most awesome people in the world. That's a guy who you put a deck of cards on the table and he'll do an hour for you. And it's just because he loves Magic and wants to share it. They gave him the MVP, most valuable performer at the 4F convention. And he's like, why? I said, because you personify Magic. It's what it's about. I'm surrounded by so many people that are like that I don't see myself as unique. Maybe other people do, but I just have so many people in my world that just love Magic, eat, sleep, and drink Magic. I surround myself with good people. I think if you do that, good things happen and people will recognize it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I think one of the things that's evident to anyone that meets you, and certainly anyone who's watching you right now, is that there is this natural enthusiasm, this natural passion that loves the art. Now people say, well, maybe it's not an art. Yes, it's a performing art. It's an art. Some guy comes in, does what I call a trick with a few cards. Well, that's not an art. But when there are people like you, Ice McDonald, and others we can name, blessings to his memory, dear Eugene, he turned the gypsy thread into an art form. I mean, that's art. It's that simple. You do that. You have this amazing, stunning ability to do that. I mean, do you know where it came from? Is it possibly part of your DNA? Or
yeah, I think it's my dad and my mom. And it's funny, and my brother. When I was young, I was the quiet kid. In high school, I was the one who was really quiet because we moved from school to school all the time. My brother was big. He was 6 foot when we were in grade 8 or 9. So we'd arrive at a new school and my brother just looked for the biggest guy and hit him. Because if he won the fight, then everybody picked on us. And if he lost the fight, everybody thought my brother was nuts, so they stayed away from us. And first opportunity I got, I vomited cards out of my mouth. Because I figured if I spit a deck of cards out of my mouth, people went, he's weird and he'll be okay. I watched my brother as he got older and realized he couldn't fight his way all the time. He became a great storyteller and he ended up being an animator for Disney for years, created video games. And when he walked into a room, the room turned and listened to his stories. And I just listened to my brother's stories over and over again and saw the way he used cadence in his voice, how he kept the story moving. I joke when other people are telling something and they go, what was I saying? I said, I don't know what you were saying, but if I were saying it, it would be way more concise and funny. So I think that if you want to relate a story, you just, you have to know where those moments are. God knows I tell too many stories. That's what I do. But it's the way I remember them. I have an eidetic memory. By recounting the stories time and time again, they stay accurate, they stay real, and they stay fun. I guess it's just what I've done all my life. My dad held court when he was young. My mom is just born in a world of show business for me. I would do a magic convention, and one of the other magicians would come over and say to my mother, well, Mrs. Farquhar, what did you think of the show? And they meant, would you please say great show is what they were asking. But they would say, what did you think of the show? And my mom would tell them, your lighting was poor for that. And you'd see their face just, I go, you really shouldn't ask my mom.
She'll tell it to you like it is.
But you're not going to feel good about yourself for about half an hour. Then you'll be a better magician.
No, I could relate to that in part, not as heavy as you, but I can relate that, yeah, because I think you and I have spoken about this, and those who know me well know this. My dad was never a professional, but he loved magic and he did that and so on and so on and so on. And my mom later on, she came to see a couple of shows, and like that, she would sit there. She'd seen everything. People come in and out of the house, and everything to her was, oh, that's wonderful. However bad it was, because she didn't want to hurt people's feelings. And then she would come and see our shows, and my son Charles used to do a lot of magic, him personally, and she would come and just watch this. And then she was the sternest and the bestest critique ever. She would go, they missed that lighting cue. No one else will notice.
Yeah,
but moms do.
I called my mom the living mirror. because back then, you practice in front of a mirror. I didn't have to. I just practiced in front of my mom, and she'd tell you exactly when you should have done something different and how to fix it. I think that's a reason I'm better than I would have been. So many people practice with mirrors, and I'm like, don't practice with mirrors. I have the worst habit of blinking now because of it. And mirrors lie to you. You have twice the distance. You're doing a magic trick. You look at the mirror, there's twice that distance, so you don't see it as clearly. Nowadays with cameras, I think the greatest thing is QuickTime. I just turn my laptop on, hit record, I black the screen so I can't see it, and I do the routine. And then I review it. And then I can see exactly what I need to fix, as opposed to so often. I mentor and coach some magicians. I'm mentoring one right now who wants to go into FISM. And my pet peeve, and he knows it too, is that when we're rehearsing and going through it, he'll watch the screen. I'm like, stop watching the screen. Put it on me. Why? I want to see what. No, you can't watch what you're doing, because if you're watching what you're doing while you're doing it, you're not actually doing it. You're watching while doing it. And that slows you down and changes the way you perform. So nowadays, the best thing in the world is your iPhone. You just turn it on record, and then do your act. Afterwards, turn it around and watch it. Make notes about what sucked. Turn the iPhone around, record it, and do it again. If you watch yourself while you're doing it, you'll always be a little slower than you could be.
And you're absolutely right. What a valid thing to say. Most people would, I guess, go, okay, I'll record myself and then watch it, without taking into account all the things you've just said, because it's obvious and it's brilliant, but things are brilliant when they become obvious, and you go, yeah, I never thought of that.
Because these things are just there when you go and say, why didn't I think of that? That's
right.
Half the cool magic is when you find. I use a system I call STEP, stick to easy principle. I'll start with whatever method pops in my head, but it's usually convoluted and not that great. But then I'll slowly distill it down till it's just the basic that I need to make the same effect. And then if it reduces the quality of the effect, then I'll work harder again. But I will do what is necessary to make the effect the strongest it is. And if that means doing nothing, then that's what I want to do. Because the less I do, the more magical it'll be.
Absolutely. And I think, it's worth dwelling for a few more seconds on that to make very strong and emphasize the point that record yourself, but don't watch. Because when you're performing, you're not watching yourself. You're watching people. It's kind of obvious, but people go, yeah, I'm going to watch myself on screen or computer or, two cameras and things. And speaking of two cameras and things, I know I've seen your lectures. I mean, when you travel with your own screen cameras and I mean, you've got it down lecturing to fine art. You know where everything's going to be at whatever time. And, people are watching you on the screen and close up. And I've heard, I remember you got a standing O at the Magic Circle when you did yours there. I've seen you in other places where people have just got up and it's just amazing how you've done it. You get your camera angle right. You got everything done and it just go.
It's really important when a lot of lecturers, they just kind of teach. And then they expect you're going to buy notes, review, DVDs and stuff like that. I would rather teach one thing and everybody leave being able to do it and do it well than to show you 50 things and you go home and not be able to do anything. I've just started doing these things called sessions with Shawn, and I did 4 of them and only allowed 25 people to a session. And the sessions ran 4 hours and I taught 4 things, but people have been sending me videos of them actually performing them and doing well with it. I'm like, that's what you should leave with, the ability to actually do this stuff. I taught my coin and bottle and my lock-in bottle and the vanishing bottle and my 3-fly and to see the people sending videos. Ken Scott just recently posted vanishing a bottle and the look on his face like he was 7 years old, just, whoa, he did it. For me, it was total joy to see the joy in his face when he did it. Just made me really happy. So learning to teach, I think, is an important thing. Unfortunately, a lot of lecturers just talk, and I guess that's a lecture, which is why I called mine sessions, because a session, I want hands-on, I want to see the people doing it. And I've never really liked the word lecture, because lecture is like there's an expert telling you how to do it, and I'm no expert. I'm a student of magic, just like everybody else. There are people in this room that know way more about magic than I do. What I do know is what I do, and it works for me. So when I do a talk, a workshop, a session, a lecture, if you want to use that word, I'm going to only share what works for me, and maybe it works for you. What I hope over and above is that I inspire you to find what works for you so your magic can be better.
Use of the word sessions, because it's not so much teaching, it is sessioning.
Yeah.
Because I think ours, and I will stand corrected by anybody. Ours is the only performing art where you can actually have sessions. I know musicians have jam sessions. I understand. I get that. They're each one's playing an instrument and they're all jamming together. Our session's a little bit different. It's not like, 5 people all doing the same effect. There's one person sessioning and saying, well, what happens if this went over there and instead of a pinky break, maybe you could do this or whatever. Yes. So I think the use of the word sessions is great. Now, these sessions, Shawn, are they kind of like open to people? Do they contact you and say, hey, can I come and join your session? How does all this work?
I did them through just a quick little notice on Facebook because I had some free time and I really wanted to play with the idea of the Zoom platform. I've changed how Zoom is used for me because it's my intentions once Hidden Wonders opens and I only have 12 people is I'm going to also have virtual tickets available. But the people are going to experience as if they're arriving at the theater. I want them to come through the store, find the secret door. Everything's going to take place for them. Go into the lounge, be able to look at the bookcase and see all the curious magic paraphernalia, and then watch the show while actually seeing other heads in the audience, like they're really at a theater. And so I had to play with it. So when I built the Zoom sessions, it was an opportunity for me to explore the platform and how to make it different for me. So I just posted on Facebook and said, if anybody's interested in sessioning, and I made it very reasonable. I said it was $25 and it'll last at least 2 hours. And in a heartbeat, I listed one and it was sold out like in about 40 minutes. So I said, I'll do 2. And then people wrote and said, any chance you can do them at a different hour? So people in England or Japan or Australia. And I was like, oh, I never thought about that. So I added another 2. In one session, I had people from Russia, Germany, Italy, Israel, France, the United States, Canada, and Japan. And some of the people were there at 5:30 in the morning and other people were there at like midday. And you could tell because some people were like starting to slope at people that came in at 3 o'clock and now it was like 7 in the morning. They're like, I don't know if I go to bed or it's like, but they felt energized. It was, yeah. I may do some more in the future. Right now, it was just those 4 as my way of experimenting. And I really wanted to see, I'm really disenchanted with video releases and downloads and things like that because a lot of my stuff gets torrented within hours of me releasing a product. And it's got nothing to do with money. It's got to do with respect. Right. And I proved it by, I released HG Effect, which is my any card, any number. I could easily have sold it as a DVD for $50 and lots of people would have bought it. Instead, I put it at $10 as a download. And I thought nobody in the world will torrent a $10 download because it's just $10. And it's a packed several hours of really great information for a phenomenal routine. And within days, it was torrented for $5. I'm like, why would people pay $5 for something that you can buy and support the creator for $10? And they're like, no, it just didn't matter. And money-wise, I've sold, I think, 7,000 myself. But I know that the Chinese sites have sold hundreds and hundreds, each one of them. And they're not all Chinese sites. There's one in America, that young kid who I wrote him. And he said, I just do this to supplement my income while I'm going to medical school. And I replied with, because I figured out who he was, I said, well, that's good for you. But you've already shown your ethical standards and I would never want to be one of your patients. You're willing to do that? What are you going to do with the syringes and the stuff that you're going to save $1 there? That's terrifying to me. So this gave me an opportunity, the sessions, to teach things like my coin and bottle, which, I don't know if you've seen this. This is funny. I got a lock and a bottle. You can see that. It's a bottle. What's up? Let me try this for you. My hand hurts. Yeah. You see that?
Oh, no. Wow.
Yeah, it comes right out. So I taught that, but I've never taught anywhere else. And I thought this would be fun to teach, but I don't want it to get onto videos everywhere. And it won't, simply because they saw it live on Zoom. They watched it. Then I taught it. We all practiced it. We all did it together. And now they can go out and perform it. And there's no recorded record of the teaching. So it's only in their mind. And I've been waiting because that happened a week and a half ago. I figure I wait another month. If there's no torrents because somebody set up a camera and videotaped their screen or something, if there aren't any, then I think this might be a really great way for me to share some of my coolest stuff, like my signed card and sealed deck and things like that.
Oh, I remember that very, very, very well. And George Schindler told me a great story. One time some guy did that And apparently you went up to George Schindler, our dean of the SAM, for those who don't know, and you kind of said, "Hey, look, that guy's doing ours." Because I think George had some input on that. I mean, gee,
I gave George a shout out right on Penn and
yeah,
Teller when
yeah, I know you did. I know you did.
You know, is that yours? I said, no, actually, it's not. It's a dean of a Society of American Magicians. He wasn't at the time, but I said George Schindler. He created Sealed Surprise. I paid, I think, $3 for George's manuscript on it. I still have it because it was great. I don't use his method, but he truly was the inspiration for that. And I watched Ricky Jay do it at a FISM in '76. It was pretty cool. And yeah, when I created that effect, the moment for me was I did it for my parents. My dad thought it was very clever, but I did it for one of my mentors, a gentleman by the name of Tony Yang. And it's the only time in my life, only time in my entire life, I ever heard Tony curse. When he opened his hand and saw the deck of cards, he cursed, and I went, "Oh, I have a winner!" It was like that moment. And he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry." And I was like,
You brought up a wonderful, wonderful name. I only met him the once, and we spent glorious time together when I was talking earlier on before the show, when I lectured over for the Unique Rockford Ring up in
Ring
BC.
1 and 3. That's with
I've got a great photograph of Tony Yang at the end of the lecture, jumping to his feet and doing that. And when I told him what had happened, because I blew it, I actually blew it. I kept losing the card. And then I found it at the end of the lecture. And I've put that in ever since. And when I told him the story, he came and hugged me and clapped. And you know what a wonderful, wonderful human being he was. I didn't know him as well as you. But I think we really should say something and respect his memory. It's why I'm telling my story. The show's about you, not me. But as you brought up Dear Tony's name, you know, we have to acknowledge that. I know you know his daughter very well, Julie, and she's following in his footsteps and so on. I don't know her, I've never met her, but yeah, you brought up his name, and I just have to credit this lovely, lovely, lovely man.
He was more than just a great magician. We called him Canada's ambassador to magic.
Right.
He was more than that. When I was young, underage, he was a bartending magician. He worked at a place called the Drummers Lounge at the Red Lion Inn. And I told him one day I wanted to just see him perform in the lounge. And that Friday night, he brought me down into the lounge and sat me on a bar stool at the end and let me watch. And then a little red light flashed, and he said, "Shawn." And I went, "What?" And he opened up this beer barrel, and he said, "Get in." And it was like a wooden oak barrel fake thing. Opened it up. It was the cooler. And I closed the door, and the police officer came down. And I had a warning light. And I thought, oh, we'll be here in a couple minutes in the cooler. It was summertime. I was shaking in the cooler. Oh, no, Tony did like 15 minutes of magic for the police officer. Well, I froze.
That's an incredible. Do you know, I'd never heard you tell that story before. You've shared many stories with me when we've hung out, but I've never heard that one.
We did a late night session in a cafe, and one of the guys went to the washroom. And when he went to the washroom, Tony called over the manager, and he said, "I don't know if you know this, but we want to warn you, Graham is a kleptomaniac, and he's under therapy at the moment, and you may find some stuff missing, and we need to confront him. So if when we leave there's stuff missing, please let us know, and we will, confront him gently about, returning the stuff." And the manager, "Oh, okay." And then the manager left, and then Tony took all the silverware off the table, knives, forks, spoons, the shaker, went over to the busing station and got ladles and stuff, and he put them all in his pockets, and then put a couple into Graham's pockets that were sitting on the chair. When Graham came back, he sat down. We had the conversation for another 20 minutes before we left. As we were leaving, the manager came over and said, "Tony, as you said, I should tell you, well, there's some things missing." And of course, Tony turns to Graham, who was completely oblivious, and goes, "Really? Come on, Graham, give it up." And Graham's going, "What?" And he goes, "I don't have anything." He says, "Graham, take it out of your pocket." Now Graham's confused, reaches in the pocket, pulls out a fork. And as Tony reaches in, he's loaded his sleeve full of stuff. So as he puts his hand in, he was shaking more into the pocket. He just started. Poor Graham was just meat-faced bread. He finally just took off his jacket and dropped it on the floor and said, "I swear I didn't take anything," and walked out. The manager's looking at him going, "Oh, that means he needs help." And Tony's going, "Yes, he does. He really does."
Because he owned the what do you call it now? You'll have to remind me, the trick and joke shop.
Tony's Trick and Joke Shop.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
that was
but he sold it
to Murray Hatfield, and Murray
Hatfield
ran it.
right.
Murray's Trick and Joke Shop, and then Murray closed it down just before COVID. Things were getting tougher, and Murray wanted to tour more, and just didn't want to run a magic shop anymore.
Yes, I was just gonna ask you. So, well, we're kind of coming up to that time, Shawn, where we've been sharing some stuff, great stuff, and wonderful stories, just unbelievably great stories. And it's glad that people get a chance to see the Shawn behind the Shawn, because you always make this joke about you and your twin brother, yeah? Norbert Frere always does that, 1 for 2 and 2 for 1, that kind of little joke that we have with it. But you do that, and I wanted people, and thank you for doing it, and really, from my heart to you, thank you so much for doing it, to showing people a little bit of the Shawn behind the performer Shawn.
A lot of people think maybe I'm a character on stage, but this is me 24/7. For all the people, I look around the gallery here. I know a lot of you, and you all see me in person. This is me 24/7. Some people go, "Hey, he must put on an act." I'm like, "No, this is me. Even when I'm tired, I pretty much look like this."
Yeah,
that's who I am.
No, but again, thank you. I don't want to kind of belittle what you just said, but that's who you are. You're kind of this great superstar. I know you're going to say, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not." Yes, you are, but you're down to earth. I've seen you talk to people. I've seen young guys, 15, 16, come up to you at conventions, and you've got the time for them, and you treat them like they're the most important thing in the world at that moment. That's an amazing human ability to have.
When I was young, I was at an SAM convention. Harry Blackstone Jr. was there. Now, Harry and I met in 1976 at the PEI in Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. I was one of like 60 people that went to see a show. It didn't sell well. But Harry treated me like a professional, as just a snotty-nosed little kid. I handed my business card, which had the word birthday misspelled on it. And he looked at it proudly, handed me a card, shook my hand like I was a professional. I was recounting the story to my buddy Greg Fruin and I were sitting together, just getting ready for the show, watch the show. And as I was telling Greg about that, he said, "You mean like that?" And I turned and looked. And there was Harry Blackstone on one knee, shaking hands with a young man, probably 7 or 8 years of age, exchanging business cards with him, exactly like that. And I thought to myself, if I got to any status in magic, I wanted to be like him and to share and to not, I see so many people in magic being elitist, and it's like there are different levels. I'm like, there's one level. We love magic. You may be just starting, or you may have been in it for 50 years longer than me. You may study a lot, or you may not study, but you're still a magician. Yesterday, I did my first public show for 40 people on a lawn in Maple Ridge with my hand all bandaged up and a mask on my face. At the end of the show, a young man, maybe 11 years of age, came up holding a deck of cards in his hand. And I said, "Are you a magician?" He said, "Well, I do some card tricks, but I want to be a magician." I thought, what a perfect answer. And I said, "Where do you study?" He says, "Well, I use the internet because I can't afford books." And I said, "Well, find me on the internet and I'll mail you a box of books." And he was like, "What?" I said, "I'll do you one better. We'll meet at a Tim Hortons coffee place, because obviously you live here in Maple Ridge, and I'll give you a box of books. That way I can give you a lot more than when I mail them." And he was like, "For real?" I'm like, "Why wouldn't I? I mean, I've got lots. I've got like 10,000. I'm pretty sure I can spare a dozen books to get a kid started. And I'll slip in an application to the SYM so he can get a good start."
Well, I honestly don't know. I'm a wordsmith. And I don't know what to say after that, other than everything that people have said in the chat. Integrity plus, Shawn. Genuine, generous, sincere. What we've got here is a list of praise of you paying it forward. It began, obviously, with your mom and dad, with the fact that Harry Blackstone Jr. took the time to do that. And if there's anything we've learned from our conversation today, please let it be what Shawn has said. Be kind. It costs nothing. And you know what? We need it even more now in these COVID times. And be grateful for the fact. Imagine if we were going through all of this and we didn't have internet or Facebook or Zoom or all the other technical things that we've got. Can you imagine how very detached we would be?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, look at that, as Shawn was saying about the positivity. What I want to do now is just literally kind of throw the floor open and ask you if there's anything that you want to say, type up, or maybe just ask Shawn one at a time.
Anthony, I think Howard Hamburg actually unmuted his mic.
Oh, is Howard here? Oh, Howard's down there. Hey, Howard.
I just wanted to say something. The professor once said, magicians don't get it and stop thinking too early. And I know he was not referring to Shawn. and he is an absolute icon. To me, he's an icon to what magic represents. And I love you, buddy.
Thanks, brother. Really appreciate that. So good to see you here.
Tim Wise had his mic unmuted.
Great interview, pal. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, nice.
I just want to concur on paying it forward, right? I mean, we're all, like I was talking to Anthony a few days ago about we're stewards. And if we're this involved and you see a child like Harry Blackstone Jr., when I went to SeaWorld when I was 13 years old, I'm 59, right? Harry sat right behind me in this show where they were doing on the beach with illusions, and he rented all the illusions to SeaWorld. But it was Harry Blackstone that was sitting behind me, right? And I was excited, and he took 30 minutes with me. He didn't need to do that, right? And that's how I think we pay it forward. And I just wanted to say thank you for that, and thank you for taking all the time and the amazing work that you do, pal, because you're an inspiration for everybody in this room and anybody who's seen you.
Thank you. I'm glad you said what you've said, because that is emphasizing even more so what Shawn was saying with some of the things that he was talking about, and pay it forward. You've been given this talent, so use it. And if you can share it, and if you can do it in some way to make this planet slightly better, and what better way to do it than with magic? Seriously. I will quote most illustrious, our SAM president, Dr. Joel. He talks about passion. Passion. And if you have that passion, I think share it forward, right, Shawn?
Oh, absolutely. I think that passion is what drives magic. The people that annoy me are the people that do magic just for money. I've met them, and it's like, oh, whatever. And I'm like, if you want my definition of a magician, it's a person that loves to share joy and wonder through the passion of their pleasure. When I was young, I remember dating my wife, so 36 years ago, and somebody said, so when you get married, are you going to stop doing magic? And I said, oh no, I explained to my wife early that the first love I ever had was magic, and that my wife will be my mistress. And she's good in that position, which is fine. And we've been married 31 years together, 37 together, 31 years married. And yeah, she knows I truly love this. And to share that passion and to do some magic is all you need. Nothing bugs me worse than when I see somebody who goes at it for what's in it for me. And it's really funny. I found that in the celebrity world. When I work movies and television shows, I do a lot of stuff for TV shows and motion pictures consulting. The big celebrities are the nicest people you'll ever meet. It's the semi or almost there that are always horrible, because they're trying to be what they think they're supposed to be when they become famous. And sadly, they aren't. It's the same with wealthy people. Most of the wealthy people I met, and I've met, I think, the most wealthy people in the world. I've met like Adnan Khashoggi. I've done stuff with Bill Gates. I've done Saudi princes. Most of the people I've met who are what we describe as filthy rich are really down-to-earth, nice people. I have a friend who he's worth billions of dollars, and he still walks around with blue jeans and sneakers that he puts duct tape on. He's the last guy you'd think was a billionaire in the group. And his friends who want to be rich are always in, the really expensive suits, looking down their nose at people. And I'm like, look at your friend, and then stop acting like a dick just because you think. And that happens in magic, that some people think they're at a level of magic where, well, I don't have to talk to it. I'm like, we all love magic. We're in this for the same reason. That's what I love so much. When I started the Assembly in 95, we have a local magic club, and it's been going for years. And I started the Assembly 95 as a way for everybody to get together to talk about why they were passionate about magic. And we have a meeting every month for years and years. Rod, I see Jens is in here. He's a member of it. Glenn, we've got a really passionate group of magicians in it. And we put on productions, and nothing is about money. It's about just doing great shows and sharing our magic with each other.
And here's the secret, if there is a secret. I'm pretty sure you'll agree, Shawn. I mean, if you disagree, that's fine. I think if you do a good performance, be it magic or a musician or whatever, but let's talk about magic, and you do it with passion and sincerity, in my personal experience, the money comes.
Yeah.
Of course, there's a certain amount of strategy, a certain amount of planning, you know. Apart from that, if you take with you, I mean, would you say take your passion and your love, people get to you?
There are two types of shows I tell people. There are those shows that you do for the mortgage and the ones you do for your soul. I try to do more soul ones than I do mortgage. And when I do the mortgage ones, I charge as much as I can so I don't have to do many of them.
When you take someone like Shawn, let's be very honest, right? World-class magician, living legend, FISM champion, he makes the time simply because I asked him as a friend to come and do this. The email for people to contact Shawn is Shawn, SHAWN, at magicchampion.com.
MAGICHAMPION.com. So it's like magic and champion or magi and champion.
They can get also to www.hiddenwonders.show.
Isn't that
Is
cool?
that correct?
You got a dot show instead of a dot.
That's very cool. That's
show.
very
You
cool.
haven't even mentioned my cool T-shirt. Does anybody notice this?
I was coming to that. I was going to. You told me the backstory on it.
This is even cooler. The bottom part down here has the logo down here. Isn't that cool? This is the coolest with like playing card designs and splattered paint. I got this at an SAM convention in Vegas, and I don't think they were authorized. And I bought 2 of them before they were shutting it down. I was like, I want this T-shirt so badly because it is without a doubt the hippest T-shirt that has ever come out. I made the IBM Keep Calm Perform Magic thing. That's not hip. It's cool, but this is the hippest T-shirt that's ever come out. It's got playing cards dripping down it. It's just, and it's on both sides. It's not like, yeah. I'm very proud of the shirt.
I've just seen one of your successors, also a good friend of both of us, Joe M. Turner from Atlanta. Sorry, I'm laughing. I just have to tell you, if you can't read, I'll tell you what Joe wrote. Yeah. If you want to avoid, or something of that nature, if you want to avoid being president of the IBM, don't go on a Darkstone show. That's been a running gag for years, ever since you, Michael Finney, Jason Andrews, and Joe appeared on the show. I mean,
Ended up as president.
yeah, you ended up as presidents. I mean, had I known, you know, I'd have charged you guys more money.
Well, you should have made a prediction back then. See, then you would have been the best mentalist in the world.
I sort of did when you did the close-up, if you recall. Any more questions from
Yes.
anybody else?
We actually have 3 questions.
Great.
David first, Michael Stanley, and then Merstrom. So David first, you're up.
Thank you, Joel, as I call you. Anyway, Shawn, I just want to say, thank you. I really enjoy your work, and I have the same memory as you, where I remember everyone's name at an event, and whether it's 100 people or 1,000 people, I always say goodbye to everyone by name. What are you working on next after this? I mean,
thanks, David. Right now, I'm building my Hidden Wonders, so that seems to be the centerpiece of my project. But while doing that, I'm creating new magic just for that venue. Because of COVID, I had to create a 75-minute show that is totally interactive but no contact. And I want to address COVID, but I don't want to make it a serious subject, but I want them to know that I'm serious about protecting them. So weird thoughts are, I bought a giant whiteboard eraser board that's on the stands, you know, that rolls in and out. And I've removed the whiteboard and put plexiglass into it. So I'm going to walk out with it between me and the audience and go, this is here for your protection. It's not for COVID. It's just I spit a lot. I'll get to use it in the show by using it like a CSI board and writing on it so predictions can be written on it, words backwards. There'll be a point where I spray it with Windex and clean it off and say, let's turn that side towards you. That side's getting dirty. Moments like that. I'll do a penetration of a handkerchief through it. Just so it's all new things to be interactive and still be no contact. I'm playing with the invisible deck to find what I can do that's never been done with it, because it's just such a powerful moment of that card reverse in a deck, and it's a total interactive, but I want it in such a way that the audience maybe tears a corner off a playing card, their choice, puts it in their pocket, and at the end of the show, that playing card piece is there. Weird thoughts like that. I want to take what looks like a disability for us and turn it into a challenge that becomes a win. And so that's sort of the stuff. And I'm writing my book finally. For all my life, I've had so many of my friends say I should write stuff, and I never thought I was close to qualified or ready. But while we've been killing time here, I've been making notes. And I found an artist, and he's making illustrations. And
Wow.
It's going to be close-up stage, parlor, everything all together. I've got more than 37 different effects to teach. some stuff that's never been published, some goofy stuff, and some really, down to the earth chop stuff. So that's kind of the projects I'm working on. At the same time, I'm working on producing my own deck of cards for Hidden Wonders, but I got to make it special. It's got to have some stuff that magicians will want to do with it. I want to produce it in a way that I can do stuff with it. So yeah, I got a ton of things going on and trying to release some of the stuff that I have a trick that I came up with when the iPhone 3 came out. So that's a long time ago. And I've recorded it 3 times. But every time I record it, I can't think of a title for the trick. And so I never release it. And I'm finally going to release it. And I'm going to call it The Trick Without a Title.
Okay. Sounds fair enough. But I'll tell you what, I, and I'm sure millions of others all over the planet were totally impressed when you did the, for want of a better expression, book test on Fool Us. I had no idea till you shared it with us today that it was a couple of bucks from Target.
The original one, for what I ended with, there's a lot more to make it work, but the original one was definitely a couple of bucks from Target. And it's a funny story because, I bought one book, and it wasn't for the book. I wanted a lottery ticket, and the book, it was a Harlequin Romance, and I had a lottery ticket in it. And I said, oh, it's a scratch and win. I need that. It was cheaper to buy the book and get the scratch and win in the book than it was to buy the $5 scratch and win. So I bought the book, and when I scratched, I won. And I was like, no, it can't be a winner. It has to be a loser. So I went back and I bought another book going, it's still cheaper than buying the lottery ticket to have 2 of these. And what are the chances that I win twice in a row? And I did, because apparently the scratch and win was a con. And so I ended up with 2 tickets I couldn't use, but 2 books. And I went, what can I do with this? And then went with the idea that I created. The best part of that story was I did it back to back with David Stone, blew him away, and I didn't show the book at the end. The very first time I did it, I left the book in my pocket, and I ended by going, and that's my book test. And David Stone, in front of everybody at 4F, said, that is without a doubt the best book test I've ever seen. He did entire paragraphs. He read them backwards. People, give it up for Shawn. And they were all cheering and laughing at the same time. And nobody, shows the credit of 4F and keeping a secret, nobody told him. It was months later, he opened a magazine, and there was a picture of him and I back to back. And he used SOB. Discovered for the first time when seeing a photograph of it in a magazine. And since then, he lectured and talked about it, and he tells that story.
Well, Merchman was also had a question, so.
Let's go to Merchman.
Merchron. Anyway, Shawn, why did you not ever get a new Rat Bastard t-shirt made?
Can I get a t-shirt? Because I didn't want Penn to beat me up. I was actually going to get a t-shirt that said, that's Mr. Rat Bastard to you. And I chose not to, because if you've ever been in a room with him, he's a lot bigger than me. I just made a new t-shirt design that I think is really cool, and it says, chased my dreams. But the word chased is just clubs, hearts, spades, diamond. So
how cool.
Chased diamond and my dreams. And that's a little joker sitting on the end. I just love the idea of chased my dreams. And I have another one that says, don't run when you're not being diamonds, clubs, hearts, spades, diamond. Only for magicians.
What else have we got here? Dear Rod, who says, outstanding interview, Shawn and Anthony. Always so interesting, inspirational, and so naturally presented, Shawn. Absolutely, I agree. Such valuable words of experience, wit, and ingenuity. And of course, can't get enough of your passion, motivation, and enthusiasm. Thanks for sharing with us all. That was so cool for Rod to write that. Thank you, Rod. Is there anybody else most illustrious? That
Michael Stanley.
Okay. Oh, there it is.
Michelle.
Oh, so nice. Say hi for me to her. It's always good to see her. Bummer, I can't hear your voice, but really good to see your smiling face. And please say hi to her for me. See, you're wearing the Hogwarts t-shirt. See, my Magician You one I love because it says not all magicians went to Hogwarts. Some of us went to university.
Brett Saul wants to know, will Shawn be doing sessions again?
I might do a few more in the future, but not until after Hidden Wonders opens up and I got everything going really well with that. All my focus is pretty much on getting that up and running. I've got less than I got less than 2 weeks to get it all up and make sure it's all going well. Once it's running, I might even start doing sessions down at the Hidden Wonders because I'll be putting cameras in a full studio and high-speed internet into it. So I might as well use it for some stuff. Brian Lobo left a comment. He's seen me everywhere. You saw me. Oh, that was all in a row. I remember you, Brian. Yeah. Literally in 2019, I went to good to see you.
Hi, Shawn.
First we went to Blackpool, and then it was the Magic Circle, and then you came out to Leamington Spa again. I was like, dude, are you following me? And I was like, so awesome. He goes, I can watch this for a third time. I said, you are. But the Magic Circle one was different. You got to see me talking about the model and memory stuff.
Yeah. That's why I turned up to Leamington Spa. Yeah,
that was fun. And Leamington Spa was a blast afterwards. Who came out that stayed afterwards and talked to me? It was Will Gray dropped in, and he's from nowhere near there. Which I thought was
there were some people that moved from quite a distance that came along. We came up from Peterborough, but I came up with another guy, John. So I think it was about 60, 70 miles away we drove. Yeah, but it was definitely worth it.
I thought that's awesome. You humble me when people travel any distance. And when you travel 60 miles to come see a lecture, it's like, I had a young man, so that would be 8 years ago, come to see the lecture. And he said, if you're ever in the UK, I will come see you again. Well, that time I traveled, but I was only down by Canterbury, and he'd seen me up by Manchester. And so in Canterbury, this full-grown man with a beard came up and goes, hi. And I was like, hello. And he said, hey, you said you don't forget anybody. I said, yeah, but you don't look anything like you did back then. He goes, what? Said, you came with your dad. Your dad drove you, right? He goes, yeah. I said, you're from Manchester. He goes, okay, that's enough. You're freaking me out. And I was like, yeah.
Oh, Emerson Rodriguez from Brazil says, great talk. I had the pleasure to meet Shawn when he lectured here in Brazil.
Obrigado, Emerson. Very cool. I had a blast in Brazil. Alphaville. That was really fun.
Yeah, it's a great place. I've been there a few times. And incidentally, I ought to tell everybody now that Emerson is here, he was on our last gala show on the 27th of June this year. Normally, I have a different cast each time, but I did consult with Most Illustrious. And we decided to have Emerson on again on our next gala show, which is on the 13th of September. Is this a plug? Absolutely, it's a plug. We have some wonderful people on there. One of them is actually watching right now, and that's Joe M. Turner from Atlanta, great headliner. Karina Fenton, who won a Eugene Berger Award about a month ago from England. Catherine Rhodes, who is the secretary of the Magic Circle. She will be on the gala show, and I'm racking my brain. Oh, yes, Christina from Norway, and Vanny Poulet from Malta. These IBM presidents keep cropping up everywhere, don't they?
Jack Greenberg's on here, too. He's past international president. It's like we're all over the place here.
Yeah, but these are all...
There's tons of us. Oh, that's so good.
Tons of you all over. But it's just cool guys. So this is the kindness, this is the sharing, and it's just wonderful to be able to have you emphasize and show it and share part of your life with us. I want to say a deep, deep personal and professional thank you to you, Shawn. Everybody, thank you so much. Do you want people to join the SAM, Shawn?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm a life member.
He has
got one new member. We'd be twice as big.
Yes, we would.
That's easy math.
Yeah, it would. We would. And the other thing that you'll get, which is a very, very cool thing, and you're kind of invited to it, it's called Bites from the Batcave. Guess who runs those? There's some very cool stuff on there. That's run by Most Illustrious, our president. Batcave? Yeah, you guessed it. Yeah, Bites from the Batcave. Oh, we've got all kinds of goodies, like free lectures. Yeah, of course I'm going to plug it. That's what I want to do. I want lots of people to come and join the SAM. Now, I don't care which country you're in. All right? Bring your passion. Bring your sharing. Bring your caring. Bring your magic. And let's all walk down this wonderful road together. Right, Shawn?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you want to do a little something to close us out, or would you rather run
one little cool magic trick before we go?
I would love that. I'm just nervous of your time.
I'll teach you something really fast so you have something. Oh, before I do that, look, I have my own Hidden Wonders coffee mugs now. Are those cool? Gotta love that. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to show you a quick little thing that you guys can do. Guys and girls, you can build this in minutes. It's just a weird idea that I had. I'm going to move the camera down so you can see here. It's a deck of cards, and you can do this with one hand. Okay, I'll give the cards a little cut, a little mix, and then I'm going to tell you what this card is. I just do this. Yep, that's the 3 of spades. Can you guys see the marking? Let me just confirm. Yep, that's the 3 of spades. I'll show you how I see the marking. I just do this. Yeah, I see 3 of spades.
Wow.
That's all you have to do. You have to rub that down good. Once it's rubbed down really good, you can like hand it to people, and there's nothing to find. It's examinable now. Is that cool? Come on, that's cool. So
yeah, of course it's cool.
This is a fun idea, and all it is a gaffed card. I made it in my spare time because I was bored. I took 2 playing cards and I glued them back to back. So I had a card that looks like this. I took a 3rd card and I cut out this section just around here and into the wheel. That's a wheel. So I cut around the wheel. So it's that little section there. It's sort of like a hidden Mickey with cut off ears. So that little section, once I cut that off, I glued it onto the back of a card. So I've got this little card that's now double-sided, and it has that little cut thing. See, it goes around there, goes up here. And then I took a utility knife because I didn't have whiteout because apparently it doesn't exist anymore. And I don't leave my house a lot. So I took a utility knife and I scraped away just to get a white area. And then I drew in with a Sharpie 3 of spades. And then I can just flatten that out and it looks like this. Looks good. And I put this on the top of the deck with the gimmick side down. So it's down. And then put the 3 of spades on top. So at any time I want to, I can say I'm going to look at this card. And I pretend, I do nothing. I just pretend like I'm looking. Oh yeah, that's the 3 of spades. So you're done. Now I just turn it over and I show it. And now I'm going to lift 2 cards together and turn them back over and just keep my finger in front. When I put it here like this and I bring them together, I lift them together, keep my finger in front. Now I can just peel up on that little bit and go, well, look, it says 3 of spades. I keep my finger here because this is from another playing card. And I don't want you to see that. I want it to look like it's just white. If you use like a 2, you'll probably get away with it better. When I lift like that, say, oh, look, it says the 3 of spades. Now I'm just going to turn those 2 back over again. And as I do it, I just kind of act like I'm pressing it down. And I turn it around and I can show it. If you want to be really sneaky, you can cut it out so you have both sections. And then I would scratch out maybe the face on one of the angels. Well, that sounds terrible. I would make one angel. That way I know the 2 ends. And I can have 2 different cards. So then I can do it once, show this end, then put another card on top and show the other end. So I can do it twice. And then they'd be really annoyed as 2 people are both looking at cards trying to find the secret trapdoor that doesn't exist on them. So what I'm trying to tell you is I want to spare time. And
Hey.
you can build yourself, have some fun with, and freak people out when we get to be around humans again. It'll be kind of a cool little idea. It was inspired by seeing Ricardo Fantasio, famous for his canes and candles. Ricardo did a thing for me at his wedding anniversary. He had a party and invited me. Well, it wasn't a party. He and his wife, my wife, and his friend Rick DeVecchio and his wife, we went out for dinner. And he took his credit card and he peeled the little black strip on the card. He peeled it back and it said bounce, like he was over a limit. He pulled it and said, oh, I can't use this credit card. And then he put it back down and I laughed at, how did you do that? And all he had was a little black strip that he peeled up that had a little white strip underneath it. And then he just put it back down and took it off with his finger. I went, oh, that's really funny. That could make a card trick. And he looked at me and said, of course it could. And the next day I showed it to him. He goes, yep, that makes a good card trick. So now it's something to play with.
Respect and RIP to his memory. He was with us in New Orleans. Do you remember?
Yep. Ricardo was a very special man and treated me very nicely and was so good to my family for so long and shared so many ideas. When I was president of the International Brotherhood of Magicians, they asked me who I'd want to honor. And at the convention, we honored him because he was just the whole world to me. And sorry he's gone. But he's not forgotten. Think about him pretty much every second or third day. It's just one of those guys that pops in your head. That's a good thing.
Yeah, in Native American culture, as you probably know yourself, as long as you speak a person's name, they're never really gone. They're never really gone. Yeah, one of the greats again. Yeah. Blessings for his memory.
I was just thinking when you said that, we just lost Howie Schwartzman, who was another fellow 4F'er and absolute brilliant card magician, clever guy. If if you don't know Howie, go Google and watch a video or something. I was fortunate, I guess maybe 8 years ago, I just went around talking to people at the 4F and asked them questions like, name 5 magic books we should all read, or what's 3 things a magician should do to survive. And Howie was 5 books that we should read, and his story is well worth listening to. It's just a short 2-minute video. It's on my YouTube channel. You can watch it. It's a great moment where he'll tell you the books if you want to be a better card magician. And he just was a good guy. If you've ever done the convincer move on the tilt, where you hold the deck like that and you push like that before you do the tilt, that's Howie's move. The convincer. It just, that alone. He gave me the best piece of advice. He said, I was doing the Elmsley count. And everybody does the Elmsley count. And he said, you're doing it wrong. I said, really? Because I'm pretty sure I do the ghost count exactly. And he goes, you're too good at it now. It's so smooth, there's no noise. When a person counts cards, there should be a noise, Shawn. You've just gotten too good at it. And I went, oh. And he said, when you count, you should be able to say the words, and you should be able to hear the sound of the cards to match those words. Wow, did that change everything? And that's what Howie was great at. He found the little tiny niches that made our magic so much stronger. And we've lost him, but still, we speak his name. He'll always be here. This has been an absolute blast. Thank you for listening to me rant and talk for all this time. Thanks to the SAM for giving me the opportunity to talk. It's an absolute blast. I really love all the sessions that I've been attending and watching, and I go back and I check them out in the portal because it's kind of cool. And I appreciate Anthony being able to accommodate. We would have normally done this on a Friday, but I'm going to be at the university with my daughter, making sure she's all settled in. So being able to do this a little early and that all of you could come and participate, really, really. And I see so many faces. Honored. I just saw that Ice was here, and I didn't realize he was here.
Wow, how cool.
And Alan Fisher and I, we have not attended a Zoom meeting. Everything I've ever been on, Alan is at them from Tennessee. That's hilarious. Howard, so many people. Gene, thank you, everybody, for coming. Anthony, it's been a blast. Everybody keep safe, well, and stay sane, right?
Take care of yourself. Stay safe. Hugs to your 2 special ladies, okay?
I'm looking forward to seeing it edited where I look intelligent.